Tell me how you guys are growing beyond just SEO and including AI in your operations.
If you do good SEO, you're going to do well on LLMs. I think anyone who tells you that it's a completely separate function is not particularly educated on the matter.
Honestly, it's not completely different than SEO work we're already doing. Kind of best practice SEO as we feel. We definitely, our strategies have evolved over the last couple of years, but they always evolve, right?
The first step is to find a really, really strong data source that shows AI visibility. Then we can see which domains are getting cited the most, and we can go use our backlink strategies and our PR people to go get links on those listicles and other websites that are getting cited that have the highest share of voice.
So I think for us, technical health of websites is still super important, like it always has been. The way we're structuring content is maybe slightly different. Other things, structured data here a lot, of course, is important. Backlinks, brand mentions, all that kind of stuff. I think probably getting included in listicles is more important than ever, just because we're seeing those be sourced a lot.
All right, guys, thank you for being here for another episode of SEO On Air. Excited to have two agencies with us that have quite a path record of success and quite a few employees. You guys have been doing this and doing it right for a little while. I'm excited to hear from you. To give the viewers a chance to understand a little bit about you, I want to give you each a chance to just tell us a little bit about your background and what makes you successful. So Kevin, I'll start with you here. Give us a little bit of your background.
So my name is Kevin Miller. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Grow.com. We've been around for about 6 years. We're a full-service digital marketing agency based in Los Angeles. Prior to starting this company, I was the director of growth at Opendoor, which is a publicly traded real estate platform. And I started my career at a bunch of different startups in San Francisco, and I worked at Google for 2 years on the ads team.
Awesome. We're excited to have you here. And give me a view of your company. What's your agency like right now?
We have about 70 people. I would say our core service, like we were talking about a little earlier, is Google Ads and SEO. We offer other things like email and SMS, creative. We have a full studio that we shoot ads in, paid social, Amazon, things of that nature to support those two core services. But that's really what we're focusing on right now.
Awesome. We're excited to have you here. Appreciate that background on your company too. It helps us to understand a lot about who you guys are. Robert, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Robert Langenbeck here. So I'm president of 802 Marketing. So we are an agency that, has really been focused on SEO and paid search for about 15 years now. So I've been doing this for about 20 years now and really started on the SEO side and kind of has evolved over the years with Google search and all things paid. So excited to be here.
Oh, excited to have you. I think I'm going to start out just giving you guys the first question right off the bat. One thing that I've heard from a few agencies recently is it's in regards to who should really be running a marketing campaign, whether or not it's the agency or whether or not it's the business that's hired the agency. And I wanted to get your opinions on the strategies that you guys have been using or seeing. Who do you believe is the best person to be in charge of a marketing campaign?
I can start with that. So I think that the best person to be in charge of a marketing campaign is the agency, because that's in effect why the company is hiring the agency to do that. They're trying to pay for that expertise that they currently don't have, or else they would just do it in-house. So I feel like the proactivity on the agency side is like really, really important. But the key with that is focusing on a testing structure, letting the client know here's our full plan of what we're going to do week by week by week by week, and here's all the hypotheses we're trying to validate. If you can do that, then the client feels like they're getting good value for what they paid for.
Robert, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I would totally agree. I think, obviously the business owners, are super close to their own business. Sometimes they take things a little probably too personal, but in general, I think, especially when you're starting that partnership, it's really important to learn from them. They have such in-depth knowledge that we can really use to build out a strategy with them. But yeah, ultimately, they're hiring an agency because they need help in things that we specialize in, that we're really strong at. We have the team of experts to do it. And we also have a lot of other knowledge that we get from other clients, right? We work in a lot of different verticals or similar verticals. There's so much experience we have with data we've tested that we kind of know, what potentially can work, right? Just because we have data to back it up. I think the one issue we run into with business owners is they make a lot of assumptions of what they think is going to work, and we can go to them and say, hey, we've tried this with a different client. Yeah, maybe we got some results, but I think that really gives us a lot of value. But also just making sure they don't micromanage every decision. So I think for us, it's really having to build trust with the clients, right? And that's earned over time, having those discussions, showing results, and I would say that we definitely want to, move forward with things the owners want, but sometimes we have to push back gently and try to educate them on why we might want to take a different approach to something.
So I think that the defense is that the customer knows their product better than you ever will, right? Like they know their product, the industry. So you're trying to like translate what they know into like functional marketing services. I think that there's the question of sometimes you feel like, or I get the agency that I discussed this with, actually, I'll be a little clearer. There was a concern that you will never know the product like the customer knows the product. And really, I think they're talking about trying to rip all that information out of your customer and help them feel like they're part of that strategy, because without that, you're just kind of throwing darts without knowing exactly where you want them to go. I think the question I have for both of you is, especially as you've scaled up your marketing agencies, is you're not the person that's interviewing that customer anymore. You have to have made a process that lets you extract that information from your customers in a way that really allows you to make a functional SEO campaign or whatever your marketing strategy is. Tell me a little bit about how you're actually pulling functional information out of your customers to give them a chance at success.
Yeah, it's a good question. So we typically do about 3 calls in the sales process before there's a close. And a lot of notes are documented in that. And, we've got a specific structure that we go through to understand what's going on with that client, what their business is, what matters to them, KPIs, all that type of stuff. And even at this size of a business, like I'm doing a majority of the sales as well as my co-founder. So we're like really dialed in on those questions. All the calls are recorded and then transmitted to our servicing team once we sign the deal. After we sign the deal, we have a sales to service handoff, where whoever sold the deal meets with the servicing team and does a full presentation on what they learned. And then beyond that, we have an onboarding form that has like probably 15 different fields that asks all these different important questions that we ask the client to fill out. So between those 3 things, it typically creates like a good holistic view of what matters to the customer, to our client. And then the way that I know that's successful is if we get on the kickoff call and my team, without me being there, is saying, hey, we met with Kevin, we learned X, Y, and Z, we've been on the website, we saw X, Y, and Z, we maybe ordered the product, we understand this, that, and the third. Do I have all that correct? Is there anything I'm missing? As opposed to, hey, like, tell us about yourself. That's definitely happened.
For the 3rd or 4th time, they explain who they are.
Yeah, and that's when you're in trouble. And that's when, I'm sure Robert would agree with this, like that first call sets the tone for everything. And if you seem like you're not prepared or you didn't take the time, give them the courtesy to spend time on their website and really learn, it's like, well, maybe I was just sold by a great salesperson and now I'm falling into that classic agency stuff where, I just get passed off to somebody.
Yeah, I would agree absolutely. I think similar on our end, usually we've done a couple of discovery calls with a client before, they sign up. Then usually we have an internal call on our hand and that sales handoff. And usually I think when we come to that first client meeting, we do usually have a list of questions we want to ask from the client, but usually we're also presenting kind of what we've learned so far, right? Like just verifying that where we've hit the mark on some of our assumptions, talk about strategy, make sure we're aligned on, what KPIs are we looking at? What are the ultimate goals? What are some of the tactics we're going to be looking at? What are the timelines, right? So really just trying to make sure we're bringing some value to that initial kickoff call, but also there's some questions we probably want to talk through with the client, right? To understand their business more. We totally get that we're not going to be an expert in their vertical necessarily on that first call, but we definitely want to know or let them know that when we come to that, we've definitely invested some time in research, we've done our part, and then just as that relationship builds, like, hopefully down the road, we are really, an expert to the point where they really trust us, wholeheartedly.
Collecting that information is one thing. Not letting it get lost in the process is another. How are you guys actually, this is maybe a boring question for the non-agency guests that are listening to the podcast, but what tools are you using to actually record that data and make sure that it gets transferred on to the next team? Yeah,
so on the tool side, a lot of times we'll record those discovery calls, take notes on everything, document everything. We have a couple of forms we fill out. And put everything ultimately into like a slide deck when we get back with the client. So everything is kind of like being documented along the way. When we have the kickoff, all of those files are organized so the team can always go back and reference them. They can watch the initial, video calls, and really just trying to make sure we do a good job of following our process and collecting that information to share it with the team. Because, hopefully the account managers with any client stay on for a long time, but obviously if you bring somebody new in, all that historical knowledge is super helpful to go back and look at some of the kind of the call notes, discussions, maybe big pivots or changes in the strategy early on, and maybe the purpose there. So I think documentation and following the process is super important.
Yeah, my answer would be the same. We use like the Zoom AI transcripts that easily document everything. And then, we have a customer success team that goes and sort of like fact checks if we did this right. So like we review that kickoff call and we know once we watch that if it was done, if the information was properly transmitted, or we just collected everything and didn't actually do the right transfer,
Yeah, I find that part fascinating. How much has AI taken effect in that operation side of your business? Like, how much are you guys really adopting it in the client onboarding? And
It's huge. Yeah, it's really huge because, it just saves time, right? So when those calls are recorded, the AI will kind of organize it for you. You can always have the full call to go back in the transcript, but it does at least get, puts together a quick, notes package for you, hits on the highlights, kind of what follow-ups were, mentioned on the call. And those are super valuable just to kind of quickly go back and review later. So it's really just sped things up and make sure that when we're done with the calls, if we miss something because we didn't write it down, we kind of have that backup there. So it definitely can save you.
Robert, are you still in the sales process yourself? Like are you still selling to your customers directly?
Yes. Yeah, I'm still definitely involved. There's a few of us on the team here. But yeah, I definitely meet with a lot of our kind of prospects all the way to, sign in.
Okay. So the next question I have for you guys is the term cookie cutter comes up pretty often in the podcast, where there's a lot of agencies that have or your customer comes to you and they've been burned by an agency in the past. Whether like that definition of burned is pretty broad. Obviously you'll have to filter it from your customer and kind of get a feel for what actually happened. But how are you guys, especially in the sales process, both of you being involved in that still, it's great. How are you able to differentiate your agency in those early conversations from the many, and I call them cookie cutter, but the more standard, maybe set packages, or maybe just honestly cut agencies that weren't able to accurately explain the benefits of marketing or make the customer truly feel the results of the marketing? How are you guys differentiating yourselves?
Yeah, I think for that, whenever we talk to clients or sign a new client, it's all about building the strategy with them. I think we definitely see a lot of kind of, I would say, cookie cutter SEO strategy, especially like in the local markets where you might have 5 car dealerships in your city, right? And they all they have the same agency, so then they follow the same format where it's like keyword, in the page title, and then the location and whatever else you may include. But it's a very templated process, so you all end up with, like, all 5 dealerships end up with essentially the exact same website being optimized, right? So I think it's really important to understand the landscape you're in, do some competitor research, see what's working, what other competitors are doing, and then build a strategy to get ahead, right? Because I think SEO 10 or 15 years ago was it was a little easier in some respect, just the tactics not everyone were employing, where now I think you see a lot of similar tactics, like how are we optimizing on-page copy or internal link structure, naming conventions and things like that. But if you do it the same as if you have 5 dealerships in your town and they all optimize their sites identical, what gets one ahead versus the other? There's other things that will move the needle there, but that is something we see, at least that we see a little bit on the cookie cutter side, but it's usually, I think, very location specific is at least where we're seeing the most of it.
There's more to that I want to expand after you've had a chance to answer, Kevin.
Yeah, for us, I think it's actually a unique answer. I think our differentiator is our informality when we pitch. We learned early on when we started the company that people actually don't, unless it's an enterprise brand, they actually don't want to see a deck, or they would prefer for us to go through a screen share, actively showing the work that we would do. So believe it or not, like, we still don't do decks unless it's like a third pitch or again, a more senior established business where we're pitching to like a CMO. But if it's a founder, I just get right into the exact strategies and I show them examples from other clients. Then that first call is much more interactive and I'm actually getting them to engage. If there's any time where we go 10 minutes and people aren't asking any questions, I won't even want to continue the call. I need that like sort of interactivity, or else I know I lost them. So I feel like that's a good differentiator for us, is like, just the method in which we pitch.
That's a tough one to scale up, though. when you're talking about the quality of a sales rep, you're looking for someone that can replicate having great conversational skills and the intuition to like ask the right question.
Yeah, well, our sales process is very tight knit, meaning there's only 4 of us that pitch for the entire company. And 2 of them are myself and my co-founder. So we've trained up 2 other people that, the other differentiator is we don't let anyone pitch unless they've been a media buyer. So they have to have actually run these campaigns and know digital marketing intimately. And so that's a big difference for us, is that because when you're pitching, you can tell. If you actually know marketing, you can tell if someone's just like a salesperson kind of speaking high level. We don't do that. We get like very deep into the weeds. And so anyone could ask me any technical SEO question or ads question, and I can answer it.
That's cool. I appreciate that. Robert, it looks like you have something to share there as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've been on a call, same thing, where the client, you never know what they're going to ask right on those calls. So having the experience to back it up has been super valuable, just because, we can jump in, we can share a screen, I can pull up their website, we can talk through what we're seeing on the fly, maybe pull up a tool, pull up a different client that maybe we did, this project for, and showcase it. So, but it is tough, right? There's similar, we have, I think there's 4 of us on our team that potentially will go into pitches, depending if it's paid or SEO, but it's hard to train that, because unless you have the hands-on experience, you do just sound like a salesperson on those calls, right? You can't answer the more technical questions. You don't have the experience going through this project with the client and saw these results and be able to speak to it on the fly. So super valuable, hard to scale with the sales team, but I think it's, when we have those calls, especially with owners of their business, they're super valuable, because it's a great way to build trust, and they really showcase the expertise with them.
So I'm going to take this into the next phase of this conversation. I like where this is going. Having a salesperson that does it is one thing, because that's like how a lot of people capture the business, but retaining the business comes down to the account management teams. How is that same level of expertise being continued throughout account management?
We found a couple things. One, building a training program that's really exhaustive is very important. So I built what I call like a campaign management playbook, and it has like 30 items of different things that you want to do on the calls. Very, very detailed. Meaning, like, the first thing is try to be 2 minutes early to the call so that you can receive the client, versus being late, and by 2 minutes it completely changes the energy of like the feeling that you're prepared for them, and then other tactics like using Loom videos, doing screen sharing, following certain like always updating on certain key KPIs. Like, there's a whole like litany of things that I think make for a good account management call, but it does get materially harder as the company gets bigger. And there's no question we've struggled with that.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. We've gone back, put together a lot of training documentation and processes for the team to follow, but it is really hard to scale. I mean, you want to find great account people and great people that to manage the team, the clients, but it's a challenge, right? They're, when you find them, they're great. You want to keep them, and I think for us it's just ongoing training too, right? Looking at our processes, never just saying, hey, we have the best process ever. We're always willing to kind of revisit what's working. If we're seeing any issues with clients that arise, what's caused that, and is it something we could have done differently? And sometimes it is, and then we have to go back and say, hey, we have to implement this into how we handle our client management, right? Maybe it is, even things like, coming to the meetings prepared, making sure we have an agenda, making sure we know what we're, the KPIs we're going to look at, following up afterwards with the meeting recap, and, all those little things. Just trying to have those processes in place for the team, I think, is huge.
It's funny. I mean, just the term little things, but those little things make up like 95% of that experience for your customer most of the time. That other 5%, and I could attest for this, when I worked at a large agency myself, I had to talk to the SEO strategist. I needed him to respond like immediately all the time for questions about strategy or deeper questions about the product and follow-up questions. Who tends to lead the strategy for most of your campaigns once a customer's been onboarded? Do your account managers get an independent view of running that, or is there someone else that's doing the strategy?
Yeah, it depends. So if it's a single channel client, the campaign manager handles it exclusively. If it's a client that signs on for 4 different services, then we have a sort of like a nucleus person, like it's an intermediary that leads the strategy across all 4 services and makes it one cohesive plan. and they basically are a project manager that sort of organizes everything.
Great. Your customers probably need to hear that, to know that there's how complicated just managing different aspects of the marketing are going to be.
Yeah, they've all got to talk to each other, and there's a whole process around that, making sure they're prepared, before they go on any client call where they've already met with each other and they know exactly what the flow of the call is going to be and how each channel affects the other.
Yeah, and I would say usually on our side, it depends again if they're doing both channels or just paid search or SEO. Generally, our paid search managers or paid search leads really are managing the account too. They're kind of running the role as account manager and the person doing the work on the account. We have our director of paid search and director of SEO that kind of oversee the strategy for clients on a quarterly basis. We're generally kind of looking 90 days out. We're further as well, but generally we always like to revisit strategy every 90 days in our quarterly reviews and make sure we have the right strategies in place. But a lot of the day-to-day management and working with the clients happens directly with the paid search side. Like I said, the managers that are in there doing the work on the campaigns, right? They're kind of running that dual role of account management and paid search management, and oftentimes they have their other folks on the team like the specialists and stuff with them below.
That's interesting that you guys are kind of giving me full playbook for running an agency at this point. We're kind of breaking down the operations side of it, but it's stuff you've heard before, but with more detail that just kind of shows the execution being a little higher than a lot of agencies that we may talk to. Like there's a clear path for success here. One of the problems that a lot of agencies have, especially in the early start, is differentiating themselves. You guys will kind of give us a view of how to do that. From the operations side, it's clear that you built out processes and are executing on those processes. Some of these agencies struggle to even get a customer in. That's complicated when all agencies know how to do SEO, all agencies know how to do pay-per-click and social media. What's working for you guys in generating new business opportunities? What are other agencies maybe not seeing?
I think that's the hardest part of an agency, is generating new business. And so one thing, the most impactful thing we've ever done is we've set up a group of what we call referral partners. And it will be someone who, let's say Robert's agency just did paid social and mine just did SEO. I would go to him and say, hey, we do complementary things. We have the same customer segment. Why don't we sign a mutual referral agreement where you send me your SEO deals and I'll send you my paid social deals. And then we pay those referral partners 10% of the money that we make in perpetuity, meaning for the length of the client. So that'd be one example. Or I'll go find people who are fractional CMOs or other people I used to work with that are directors of growth that work at a brand. And typically if you're in those types of roles, you know a lot of brands, you know a lot of brand owners. And so we literally just treat it like, it's mailbox money for these people. Like in the early days, I would go to them and say, okay, how much is your mortgage? I want to pay your mortgage on a monthly basis in exchange for leads, And then that's one method that worked really well. And then the best method is really doing a great job for the customer and then asking them directly for referrals. That's worked for us for a long time.
Yeah, I would agree. I think for us, referrals have been the biggest generator of new business. So I think, for us that doing good work by our clients, keeping high client retention has been super important. But yeah, trying to really lean on the referral network. We've tried a lot of different tactics as well, like, doing paid search for ourselves. Same thing, having kind of partnerships with other complementary agencies where they send us leads, we'll send them leads. But yeah, I would say it's definitely the hardest part about running an agency, right? It's, I think we have good processes, we can do good work, but there is a lot of competition out there for new SEO clients and new paid search clients, right? We all want them, but it's hard to kind of stand out a little bit. So we've seen some success in a lot of different areas. Even recently, we blog a fair amount on our own website anyways. We need to get out there more, but we've seen some referrals come in from articles we've written where, the prospect just really liked our take on something, right?
Are either of you actively posting on LinkedIn to try to generate business opportunities through LinkedIn?
Yeah, that's a big lever for us. For example, like yesterday we did a press release announcing our new service that focuses on SEO for LLMs, which a lot of people call GEO or AEO. And so that's taking off right now. People are very interested in that. And so we did a press release and then I did some commentary on it. And typically leads will come in from that too.
That's something I've heard pretty often from agencies is LinkedIn. Robert, yeah.
Yeah, we do a little bit on LinkedIn. I will actually add just, along with blog, I said Geo has been really like an area of growth for us as well. It's piquing a lot of people's interest. It gets them in the door to have those discussions. So I think, the terms Geo and LLMs, I feel like we say it all the time now, but I think, clients don't know what to do with it, right? It's new and they have no idea what they should be doing. Just we keep seeing it grow and we keep seeing all the buzzwords out there, but it's definitely been an opportunity for us just to kind of, start conversations with new prospects for sure. So whether it's them finding us on LinkedIn or on our website or other places they might see us mention, but the term geo, I think, is definitely catching on.
I appreciate that you guys brought it up. I don't know if we had a planned question around AI specifically or LLMs and what they're doing. So I am interested in hearing, though. We do know that that's the shiny object. Like that's grabbing all the attention from the customers. A lot of customers are coming in saying, well, what are you guys going to do for my AI visibility or like in LLMs, right? A lot of agencies are just saying like, hey, we have to do good SEO work for your AI. That's what it is. So I'm curious. I mean, Kevin, you say you guys are doing something. Robert, what are you guys doing too? Tell me how you guys are growing beyond just SEO and including AI in your operations.
Yeah, I think it's actually very true. If you do good SEO, you're going to do well on LLMs. I think anyone who tells you that it's a completely separate function is not particularly educated on the matter. And so what we do is the first step is to find a really, really strong data source that shows AI visibility. And there's probably like 30 different venture-backed platforms that do that now. So it's hard to decide which one to go through. We decided to partner with this company called Profound, which I think is the market leader. They've raised the most money. They've got the best engineers. I think their data is the best. So that's the first thing we start with. Within that software, we can see what prompts people are searching for that relate to the products that our customers are selling. We can write content on those prompts. Then we can see which domains are getting cited the most, and we can go use our backlink strategies and our PR people to go get links on those listicles and other websites that are getting cited that have the highest share of voice. So it's like the content work, the link building, and then we have a Reddit community engagement strategy, which remains to be seen exactly how impactful that's going to be. And it's just sort of fluctuating over time based on the recent news. But we have that right now where we go and we create new subreddits based off of prompts that are in this data tool, and we help people gain visibility there. And then the last piece is we're building a SaaS that allows you to connect a product feed to OpenAI so you can get accepted into instant checkout. And I think that will be very helpful, probably more so for brands that are on WooCommerce or Magento, because Shopify and Etsy customers are going to be automatically accepted into that program. But that's something that we're building out to try to help people get distribution into instant checkout.
I'm curious, are you guys, from the Reddit standpoint, are you only really able to see success when you're creating your own subreddits? Have you been able to even get any visibility on existing subreddits, or are you pretty much getting blocked every time you try to promote?
No, because we work with a lot of this whole Reddit community of people that actually get to try the product. So for example, if it's like a coffee company, we'll actually have these Redditors drink that coffee and then go on to relevant threads and talk about their experience.
Got it.
That's been helpful because there's no real way to game Reddit. The moderators are too serious. And
that's why I was pretty curious about it, yeah.
It's got to be an authentic review. But the new subreddits are good because it's a net new established page, and then we can track that page in Profound, and we can see what sort of share of voice it gets once it gets published. So that's very interesting too.
Yeah. Robert, what are you guys doing with your evolution in AI visibility?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, kind of Kevin mentioned it too, right? It is to us, it's not completely different than SEO work we're already doing. Kind of best practice SEO as we feel. We definitely, our strategies have evolved over the last couple of years, but they always evolve, right? So I think for us, technical health of websites is still super important, like it always has been. The way we're structuring content is maybe slightly different. We're definitely looking at, doing some different testing around the way we structure content pieces, the way we maybe answer question and answer within that content to see what that does for visibility. Other things, structured data here a lot, of course, is important. Backlinks, brand mentions, all that kind of stuff. I think probably getting included in listicles is more important than ever, just because we're seeing those be sourced a lot within the LLMs, where, if you want your brand to be mentioned, like you're looking at these lists, that your type of product, like you said, if it's a coffee maker, right? These coffee makers keep popping up on all these listicles. You need to be on that listicle. So I think that part of it is definitely probably a little more weighted heavily towards the LLMs and how you can rank. But I think the other big thing, Kevin had mentioned was like the tools. Like we have a couple different tools we're using with clients, and everything from SEMrush to Conductor to SEO Clarity, like all these different tools for the AI visibility. I think those are still evolving pretty quickly. I would say none are perfect, but it does allow us to get some data as far as what types of prompts are happening within ChatGPTs and Perplexities and these other tools, and making sure we have the topics to support it, right? We've published content, we've gone out there and published on these prompts so that we can actually rank, right? That's a big piece of it, making sure that you understand what your customers are looking for related to your products or your brand, and make sure that you actually have those answers somewhere, right? So you can actually be, cited or mentioned in the content. So I think visibility is still a little bit of a challenge across the board in our industry, but we're starting to see a lot of headway in the tools.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that the backlinks and listicles and review style articles came up. That's something that even Stan Ventures, as we do a ton of backlinking work for white labeled agencies, we've seen the need for PR style listicles, not even on PR websites, but just on smaller sites that are going to be cited to increase visibility across LLMs. I think it's interesting when you take like the ideal client profile and build that out into profound. I think, Kevin, as you guys have kind of established that as well, you can kind of create who that customer is and then try to figure out what they're searching for. And Robert, you mentioned topics, and that's come up a lot recently is people have moved away from keywords and directly into topics, because topics seems to be how you're able to optimize right now. Instead of focusing on keywords, you have to get the whole bottom of the funnel topic that your customer is really looking for and really find how to answer those questions. And then those articles, those listicles, those review style things, they're all going to be answering whether or not you're the best solution. And that's where people are utilizing that to try to show up in LLMs. There's a question of the spamminess of it. People are saying like maybe they're not going to like that. Other companies are writing a bunch of listicles and reviews. I found that almost funny as I thought about the execution of it, and realizing that SEO since the very beginning has been all about like consistently building your content up to make sure you're the most visible in an area. And realistically with LLMs, all you're doing is increasing the visibility of your customer's brand, assuming you're not straight up lying about it. It's going to be consistent across all brands. I'm talking a little bit too much here because I'm curious to take this into the side of like authority building work, and I see those I call them unlinked, because I know a lot of companies aren't even linking them anymore. They're no follow links, so that it's just simply brand mentions. From the authority standpoint, are you guys doing traditional backlinking and now moving into like the articles and listicles and creations for AI content? Is that a dual part of your strategy, or are you leaning one way or the other?
I think it's definitely, I would say, a dual strategy. On our side, we definitely believe in earned media a lot. So we produce a lot of content for our clients. Try to back some of that with data, maybe do a case study or something that's interesting that people might want to link to. We've got larger content projects we've produced with clients that have really helped. But then you have the more traditional PR side as well. So we don't do it directly. We work with the PR team where they're the ones out there. Like we'll point them in the right direction. Hey, we'd love to get, more mentions on these types of listicles, or these websites are really important in your niche. So try to get your products in there, try to get your brands talked about. So it's a little bit of both sides of it. I think more, we definitely do a fair amount on the earned media side, trying to produce really great content, maybe take a different approach, a unique angle on something, back it up with some data, get links and mentions that way. But I do think it's important where you're in those best, comforters 2026 or whatever the article might be coming up, right? If you have a client in those spaces and all the competitors are showing up in these articles and you're not, it makes it a challenge, I think, to be as visible.
Yeah, we build links in a very similar fashion. The only thing we do outside of that is I still believe in press releases. So we'll do that for brands as well. But yeah.
That one's tough, right? Because not everyone has a PR story that can really be posted.
It depends. I mean, we do it I try to encourage brands to announce anything that they feel like is noteworthy. A lot of brands talk about only wanting to do fundraisers or new product launches. But there's a lot of other things that can be announced, and those no follow links I think still carry weight, especially in LLMs. But yeah, we try to get partnerships with big publishers because it's harder for them to make money through programmatic advertising these days. And we write the content and then they place it on their site. So that's another method that we use. And then I have a couple groups that I outsource, like Robert's talking about, where they have like stronger PR functions. And we go to try to get that earned media. That's the bet. There's nothing better than real earned media. Nothing more impactful than that.
I like that you said. I've actually been putting together a list of like PR style companies that release those types of articles, because it's often asked, as we do backlinking for companies, PR links is a complementary strategy, but it's one that you have to have an established network to really be able to post that content to, or have them trust you with the content creation. Guys, I think that's pretty much the questions I had for you today. We're about out of time, and I really appreciate you being here. I will ask one last question, because I do think it's healthy for the next podcast recording, but what would you like to hear from another agency on the SEO On Air podcast?
I would love to know strategy for GEO. I want to see what's working for other people and just get ideas on how we can continue improving our product.
It's a good one for the learning aspect of everybody needs to be on top of it right now. We can share and kind of establish some growth in the industry for everybody. I like that idea.
Yeah, I think that, and just any data, like a case study on it, right? Like we hear a lot of tactics, but no. It's hard to get the data, right? I want to see the data to see what's working, right? It's easy for people to say this tactic works or that tactic works, but I love to see the case studies to say, hey, we tested this, and here's the results. So we're big fans of testing and trying to prove out things before you kind of take it to scale. So yeah, I love seeing some test studies.
I have to bite my tongue and not just ask you guys like both the same questions back, because I appreciate the time and I like asking the questions here. I really do appreciate you being on this episode of SEO On Air. We'll tag you guys on a few releases. We're excited to have had you as guests. We hope to have you back soon. Thanks for being here, guys.